Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Film church.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Even a big bitch cockroach like you should know. Never fuck with the king.
Hello, and welcome to Film Church Radio, the podcast that treats cinema as a religion. It's Sunday. I'm Branden.
And I'm JFK.
And we are here to talk about movies. Each week, JFK and I alternate picking a film for both of us to watch and discuss. Today, I picked the film Bubba Ho-tep from 2002, the year I started making my own films, starring Bruce Campbell, Ossie Davis, and written and directed by Don Coscarelli, based on the short story by Joe R. Lansdale. This film has been on my radar for a bit. I first heard about it working in a movie theater in Nacogdoches, Texas. And if you're familiar with this film, you know that they go to Nacogdoches in the movie. So I'll talk about a little bit how I heard about this movie and the events surrounding it and why it's been on my radar. But yeah, it's a blast. We'll get into it in a minute. I also have I wouldn't call it an obsession with Bruce Campbell, but like I admire him a lot, and recently had a dream about him, which I made a vlog about. You can go find it on YouTube under my YouTube channel, Branden Ray Selman. Just a little plug there, shameless.
Do it.
But yeah, I mean, I admire him a lot, and then he came to me in a dream, and then I made a vlog about it. So go check that out. But if you want to know what we're watching next week, be sure to stay tuned till the end of the episode. We like I said, we alternate picking a film. So next week it'll be Lewis, and he'll reveal it at the end of this episode. First, before we get into all this, we'd like to say thank you to everybody who has been watching the show or listening, either one. You can watch sometimes on YouTube, but mostly listen to us on all the podcast platforms. If you like our show, please share it with people. We'd much appreciate it because we love doing this. This is our religion right now. We've been diligently doing this for the past 42 weeks. Can you believe it?
No.
I would say that I'm it's hard to believe. I would say I'm pretty enlightened. I feel like I've continued my education in film with this, and learned a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of films I wouldn't have picked on my own.
Yeah, same here.
So if you want to be a part of the religion and share it with other people, spread the gospel of Film Church Radio, please tell people. So before we get into the Bubba Ho-tep movie, we like to talk about what we've been watching this week, other than Bubba Ho-tep. So if you're just here for Bubba Ho-tep, you can just skip forward, you can skip all this. But we do talk about, everything we've been watching on our Letterboxd, and sometimes, mostly movies, sometimes TV shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, what have you been watching, Lewis? Or
So,
should I say JFK?
I always like to throw them in randomly just to throw you off. I don't do it for
it's
a
never
couple of months.
Consistent.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to do it today. I just got that feeling.
It keeps me on my toes.
That's it. You never know when it's going to come next.
Yeah.
So this week has been a really good week, honestly, in my film watching exploits. I started off with Johnny Guitar, a 1954 Western directed by Nicholas Ray. And Nicholas Ray is a director I like a lot. He did Rebel Without a Cause and In a Lonely Place with Humphrey Bogart.
Okay.
And he was married to Gloria Graham for a short time, who I absolutely adore. And I had this on Blu-ray and I hadn't picked it out yet, and it just kind of fell into the Blu-ray player. Really, it was one night I was like, oh yeah, I'll put that on and see what it's like, and it was really really good. It's a bit different. It's a Western that revolves around the women. So Joan Crawford plays a character that owns like a saloon, and she's in with some bad guys, I guess. They could be bad, they could be, not so bad. I'm not explaining this very well. But it's just it's like Technicolor as well, so it's in full color. It's just a really vibrant, interesting film. And at the beginning there was a short introduction by Martin Scorsese on the disc, and he said that it was part of the reaction to the McCarthy era kind of witch hunts that we've talked about before. So watching it through that lens as well kind of added a lot to it. But I really, really enjoyed it. It was a different Western than I'd seen before. I always like it when they play with the genre a little bit.
For sure. With
females, it was great.
Yeah, especially for that time. I feel like there's not a lot of those.
Yeah, definitely not. I know it wasn't super well received when it came out, and it's kind of created a bit of a cult following since. So Johnny Guitar, if you're looking for a good Western, I would seek it out.
Does Johnny Guitar have any relation to Johnny Utah?
Maybe. He's a badass in it as well. So there is a character called Johnny Guitar, and people keep saying that's a weird name, and he's like, "Yep." So, and then after that, I went all European, Branden. So I watched a couple of German silent films from the 20s. Nice. The first one I watched was The Love of Jeannie Nay, directed by G.W. Pabst, who is a interesting filmmaker. I watched a special feature on him, and it seems like he was kind of forgotten about because he chose to stay in Germany with the rise of Hitler and Nazism and everything, and kind of made a few films for them. So he was kind of pushed to the side in film history, especially European film history. But this was a really interesting story about a couple in France, and they kind of get separated because he's a Bolshevik and she's not, and then they kind of, it's just an intertwining story where they keep kind of meeting up, and there's some big hitters from the German era. There's the lady from Metropolis is in it, and she plays a blind girl, which I'm really glad that we've come a long way in terms of representing disabilities like that on screen. It was, kind of one step down from being cross-eyed and bumping into furniture, which, is always a little bit weird to see when it's that heavy-handed. But I guess, it's silent film, and it did its job. As soon as she came on the screen, I was like, man, she's blind. You could just tell by the way they did it. Yeah. And it was, and the actress is Brigitte Helm, who was in Metropolis, and she's just got incredible eyes anyway. So there was a lot of story revolving around that. And there was the lead actress. This is going off on a bit of a tangent, but the lead actress was Edith Jehani, who I probably butchered that pronunciation. And I was like, she's really good in this. I wonder why I haven't heard anything about her before. And I went on to her letterbox and clicked on her name. Only credited with 7 films, and there is no biography on there. So I went onto Wikipedia, my second port of call. It sounds very basic. Yeah. And that was literally, she starred in a few films, and that was it. So there is literally nothing known about her.
Wow.
Which is very interesting to me. That's the kind of stuff that I'm like, okay, I need to track down everything that she's ever done to unpack who this person is, Yeah. It was super strange.
Especially the star of a film.
Yeah. Yeah, and she seemed to be like another director's muse for a while.
Yeah.
And, nothing, and disappeared. Who knows?
Is she, so I know Metropolis, but I haven't seen it. Is she the star of Metropolis, or is she just in it?
So she's not the one that's in Metropolis. So Edith,
okay,
there was
sorry.
two female
other-
leads. Yeah, Edith
Gotcha.
Johanny was
My bad.
the main, and then Brigitte Helm was the blind girl, but she was in Metropolis.
Okay.
So, I mean, like I said, it's a really interesting kind of foray of people that are included in it. And it was super interesting. Did lag a little bit. Some parts were a bit baggy. But, a good, strong German silent film. And then Pabst made a film called Pandora's Box with Louise Brooks. He made two films with American actress Louise Brooks in Germany, one being Pandora's Box and one being Diary of a Lost Girl. And they are both very European in their representation of like female empowerment and kind of like sex and stuff like that. And I've been putting off watching this film for years. It's been a film that I've wanted to get. For some reason, I've always wanted to get it on Blu-ray. Like, I've been waiting for it to come out on disc. And there was a restoration a few years ago, and I was like, here we go. Someone's going to announce if there's a new restoration coming out, they're going to put out like a Blu-ray disc. And nobody did. So last night, 2 nights ago, I bit the bullet, and I was like, I'm just going to watch it. I've been waiting too long to watch it. So I'm pretty much guaranteed that in the next few weeks, someone will announce it on Blu-ray. And it's a very, very interesting film about a woman who kind of the whole point is that no man can kind of resist her, and just she kind of pulls everyone down into this dark, murky world with her because of her allure. And then weirdly enough, it worked as a really good double bill because with Jean-Luc Godard passing earlier this week, I decided to pull out one of his films and kind of watch that when I heard the news. And I picked out Vivre Savvy from 1962, which is also about a female with a pixie haircut, similar to the lead of Pandora's Box, who falls into prostitution. It was a very weird kind of cinematic double bill where you didn't mean for it to happen, and it just works out to be like, wow, that was like the perfect two films to watch back to back. And I think it just added something to both of them. I could kind of see the difference in representation in the 40 years that had passed, and it was a great double bill. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a good week, dude. A lot of silent film, some French films, all thrown into the mix.
Man, let's talk about Godard for a little bit. It just, I knew he was still alive, but just like seeing that he passed and stuff, it's just like holy shit! Like, it's just crazy that he was still alive.
Yeah, I said to our friend Zach that like every time I looked it up, or like he came up in conversation, I'd like go on his IMDb or whatever. I'd be like, oh, cool, he's still alive. It's kind of that like, I don't know. It felt nice having him in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It like I really want to go through and watch all of his movies. I mean, I've seen Breathless. I've seen what's the name of it? Perot. I am going to butcher the name of it. Oh my god, he has so many credits. I'm like trying to find it. It's like Perot, Perot Le Fou. That I really liked, which also stars the guy from Breathless. And I'd really like to see what his later work looked like too. And kind of the. I mean, he kept working right up till the end. He's got 131 director credits.
It's pretty crazy, and I think that I haven't seen a lot of Godard film at all. I'm not a huge fan of Breathless. As a film, I don't really like it that much. But as a film, I've gone back to like loads of times. I feel like every now and again, I get the feeling to be like, I need to watch Breathless.
Yeah, it's definitely the one that people talk about the most. But I don't, I guess because it maybe was one of his first films, and because it kind of broke form a little bit. Yeah, and it's like non-traditional, but it works. But I mean, I still really like it. I like I like actors though. I think I'm more of an, I'm less of a plot kind of person, I think.
Yeah.
I'll still be interested in the movie as long as like there's like just drama and acting, just following actors around doing shit, which is kind of what Breathless is like. And I mean, he also obviously had like a hand in people taking Hitchcock more seriously, right? With his essays and stuff.
Yeah, the whole like French New Wave, the writers for Cachet du Cinema and things like that kind of really pushed Hitchcock. I mean, Truffaut, who was huge in the French New Wave, he did the full interview sessions with Hitchcock.
Okay.
And got the book and everything out in terms of, having him reevaluated, I guess, starting that whole trend. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
I guess I kind of get them confused sometimes, Truffaut and Godard, but
I think I
but
did
yeah,
too.
I mean they were both huge in the French New Wave and stuff.
Yeah. And I think, wasn't he married to Agnes Varda for a while as well? Godard.
I don't know if he was. Maybe.
I feel like he might have been.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that you would really enjoy Vivre Savvy. I mean, it's just like it's the actress Anna Karina who he focuses on the whole time. The camera movements are really interesting, and there's one point where I felt like I was literally trying to lean around something in the shot to get a better look at the actress.
Yeah.
The opening scene is like 15 minutes of the back of two characters' heads while they have a conversation.
Wow.
Which is, it doesn't sound like it's going to work, but it does,
Yeah.
So.
See, he was just like that. Like he did things that broke the form.
Yeah.
Which is great,
Yeah.
I like as much as I love popular films and love like action movies and stuff, they get old, especially as you get older. You just want, you want to see something else. You want to see the art form push the boundaries, and you want to see stuff with deeper meaning, and
I think that's why I love silent cinema so much, because it's just it's on the cusp of like the medium developing, so everything you see is innovative. Everything they were doing is like the first time this was done, or they were learning from other people and really putting things together. And I just love to watch. Like, it's film is obviously one of the only mediums you can see that happen.
Yeah,
it's not like it is a finished product, but you can see directors try things and then come back to it later, and it's just, film is amazing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I never really thought about it like that, because I mean, I guess music has been around though for longer than it's been able to be recorded. But I guess we do have like sheet music and things from old musicians and stuff.
But we see it like in film, you see it just as they intended it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the medium is film. Like you're seeing it the way that the director created it and everything. Yeah. We love movies.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Godard.
Yeah. Just crazy. 91 or 92. Almost 92 probably.
Yeah.
So things that I have watched this week.
Yes, please.
So first I watched Val, which is the documentary that came out last year about Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
That he made. And have you seen it?
I haven't.
It's on Prime, I think.
Yeah.
It is really, really good. So this guy basically took a camera with him everywhere. Like, I didn't realize he was that kind of an actor. Like, he just had a camera with him on all the sets, and like would film, like when he's doing plays. Like there's a play that he's like doing in the early 80s, and like this was before video cameras were even like a thing. He had like literally had one of the first video cameras, and Sean Penn and Kevin Bacon are like there in like the dressing room and stuff, and they're like, "Is that a video camera?" And he's like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Cool." Anyway, so just like it goes through his life and stuff and all these movies he did, and it's really, really good. Definitely worth a watch. Very well put together and stuff, and you know, he's obviously like reflecting on his career and stuff because he can't. I mean, he can kind of speak, but you know, he's lost his. I mean, everybody saw Top Gun Maverick. Like that's his voice. That's his real voice there that he's using in the movie, and you know, I'm sure he's going to keep on doing work and stuff, but you know, it kind of the. I mean, he went to Juilliard, you know. I mean, he's an actor, you know. He's like an actor, and like did plays and movies his whole career, and like, you know, so like there's a certain body of work that's, you know, kind of closed to him now, you know, and so he just kind of reflects on it and stuff. So it kind of got me thinking, you know, about his movies and stuff, and I ended up watching Tombstone from 1993, which was suggested to me by my brother-in-law back when we were doing Sergio Leone, like the Sergio Leone series we did on the podcast, because it's a Western and stuff, and it is really good. Like, it was made in 1993, and I don't know, I feel like sometimes Westerns are very, obviously they're hit and miss with any like huge genre like that. But it was really good for the time that it was made, and I mean, not even for the time that it was made. I mean, it's good now. You know what I mean? Like, it holds up. Like, it's a really good movie. Have you seen it? Have you seen Tombstone?
I haven't seen Tombstone. No, there's a gap from like the late 80s to the early 90s that, you know, is pretty lost to me. It's definitely worth a watch. I enjoyed it a lot. It's been a minute since I've seen like a more modern Western, you know. Yeah. I mean, you get a good one every couple of years, I think, but obviously the Coen brothers have done great stuff. But yeah, there's one that's always kind of like, oh, you know, it's going to restart the Western, you know, and it never quite does. Like you say, it's just one standout.
Yeah, I mean, the Western's never coming back like it was.
No.
Ever.
No.
You know, I mean, the Western used to be like the superhero movie nowadays, where like every weekend there was another Western coming out.
Yeah.
Same with like the musical at one point, you know.
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, they're not completely dead, but, you know, they're not every weekend.
No, exactly, yeah.
You know, the superhero movie, that will happen to it at some point.
Yeah.
When, I don't know. Seems like it'll never end. But but who knows? I mean, it seems to be what people love right now. How long was the Western like? I mean, it had to be a long time.
I mean,
so popular.
I mean, if we're looking at just the career of John Ford, I mean, he was making them from mid-20s until the 50s.
So like 30 years.
Yeah, I mean,
30 year range. I mean, and then Sergio Leone. I guess when Sergio Leone came around, it was already fizzling out. And then he was like
changed it.
Yeah,
yeah. I know that Westerns were huge, like in the silent era. There was, you know, because in Hollywood they could go out to the backyard and shoot these things.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So,
yeah.
You know,
cheap. Easy to make.
Yeah, exactly.
And now the superhero movie is like they're still in the backyard, but they're in.
It's just a green.
Well, it's more like they're in the garage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're making these movies in these big garages. It's all green screen and, you know, big video walls and So you know, obviously we watched Point Break last week, and. I hadn't actually. I guess I've seen Bill and Ted at some point, but I think I watched it kind of passively, maybe. So we watched that, and I really liked it. It was good. I always forget that George Carlin is in it. You know,
I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. It's good. It's a good movie. The third one is also really good. I watched the third one when it came out a couple years ago, but it's definitely a trilogy. I think you should watch. Well, you've never seen The Matrix either, so it's like
Keanu
you're gonna.
I've never seen any of the John Wicks either.
Yeah, you need to do a Keanu marathon.
I'm just like, man, I love Keanu in Speed.
He's not in the second one, right?
No, he's not. No, on the boat. I think Willem Dafoe is the bad guy in that one, though.
Yeah. I think you're right. And then I watched The Hobbit, the cartoon from 1977, which is a favorite of mine. It's a 5 out of 5 for me because I grew up kind of watching it, and they tell the story in an hour and a half.
Nice.
Which the Hobbit movies is 3 movies, and they equal like, who knows, 6 or 7 hours or more. I don't even know.
The extended
9 maybe.
Yeah, I can remember I tried to watch the like extended cuts and I got through the first 2. And then I got about an hour into the last one. I was like, I can't do it anymore.
That's what I did, dude. I mean, I've seen them all before, but I did a rewatch a couple of years ago. When I got to the third one, I was just like fast forwarding through parts, just trying to get to anything good. Because it's just...
I think the first 2 were pretty decent,
I think so. I didn't like the first one when it came out, but I've grown to like parts of it and pretty much all of it. But it had a very troubled production. It had a ton of talent on it, obviously, but it's just very troubled production. And I really wish that we could have gotten to see the 2-part version. Or the 2-movie version that Guillermo del Toro was going to direct. Yeah, me too. It would have been great. But anyways, if you want a shorter version, The Hobbit from 1977 is great. And John Huston is the voice of Gandalf. So, I mean, how do you beat that? Sold. Then I watched The Punisher from 2004. We did like you and I for a while on Film Church Radio every week. We were like bouncing back and forth to like the early, 2000 superhero movies. Cause I know I had watched like Daredevil and like the Blade movies. And I can't remember what you had watched. X-Men, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Punisher from 2004, it's like, it's one of those movies. I think 2004 was the year that I started buying my own physical media and like having to hide it in my room, because my parents didn't want me watching rated R movies. And but I was like a cinema lover, so like I had like gotten The Godfather and like Kill Bill and like Mean Girls, and The Punisher was one of them. And so there's a lot of like nostalgia there for me. Yeah. And it holds up okay. It holds up better than most of the early 2000s superhero movies. But then, it's such a like by the book superhero movie though. You know what I mean? I mean, sort of like it's obviously a little darker because it's like The Punisher. Yeah. It's very bloody, isn't it? I remember. I mean, it's pretty. Not even compared to nowadays, though. No. I mean, it's like once you've seen like The Boys and stuff like that, true. It's like, is this? I mean, it is pretty intense. Like Ben Foster, I believe is his name. The actor is in the movie, and there's a part he's got like all the. Have you seen it? I have. Yeah. I think it was in the same boat as you. It was one of the first films I bought myself. Yeah. And like he's got like lip rings and stuff, and like there's a part where they like rip them out. I mean, they don't actually show it, but it is pretty intense. And like that was the first time I saw Ben Foster in a movie, and I was like, man, this guy is like really good. And I always have enjoyed seeing him and stuff. He pops up every now and again in some really good movies. Like he was in Hell or High Water. He was, and what's that film? Yeah, and he was in Hustle. It was the most recent thing I saw him in. With Adam Sandler. He plays his manager or
he
whatever.
Does.
Yeah,
He does. You're right.
I remember being like, oh, there he is, cool. But then you kind of forget.
Yeah.
But he always plays like these really good side characters usually.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously he's in stuff like Hell or High Water where he's like, I mean, he's still kind of the co-actor, but he's like the main, co-star or whatever.
There is a film that he did. Let me look it up. It's about oh my gosh, two, like a father and a daughter who live in like the woods, which sounds really strange. And then they try and bring them. It's called Leave No Trace. They try and bring them like into society. It's amazing.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Leave
have to
No
check
Trace.
that out.
Yeah,
I really like movies like that. Like The Village and stuff like that. Stuff that's kind of about like people that are separated from society and then have to like enter it. Because I feel like that I don't know. I feel like it's an allegory for like my life of being a homeschooler, and then
you should watch this at the earliest opportunity. Then I think it would be right up your street.
Yeah, I'm gonna add it to my watch list. Sweet. Yeah, I'll check that out. I mean, we're already 30-ish minutes into the show.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about Bubba Ho-tep yet, but I did finish the rehearsal.
Oh, yeah. Nathan Fielder
did you finish
is the best. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I didn't expect it to get so like kind of deep.
Yeah.
And almost, I don't know if I would. It's almost artsy.
It is. Yeah, it's very meta and like, what are we doing? Like, what is TV?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I mean, he's like, he's pushing the boundaries, pushing the form. I mean, he's doing stuff. He's doing, he's creating something that we've never seen before.
Yeah, I feel like every episode was so fun and like good to watch, and then the last one just left you really down. For me, anyway, it finished and I was like, I was ready to like laugh a lot, and there was a few things. There's a few, there's always a few things that are really funny, but you just feel like, you come away from it just a little bit sad.
Well, that's kind of how which we haven't talked about this yet either. I finished Nathan For You.
Oh, Finding Francis.
Yeah, and I finished that one, and that's kind of like how that episode kind of leaves you feeling. You feel very, I don't know. It just has you questioning, society. Yeah. Yeah. And people and your age and growing old and growing up and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's interesting how it brings out like something poignant to consider.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, spoilers at the end of the rehearsal, I feel like that last part where he's like talking to the kid and he's like supposed to be the mom or whatever, and he's like, I thought you were playing my mom, and he's like, no, I'm your dad. Like, I feel like at that moment, I don't know if it was it's like hard to tell if this was like genuine or if it was something he planned, but it seemed like he in that moment he like got what he needed out of his rehearsal, which was like to see if he could be a good dad, and he like realized that at the end,
but you're never sure. I mean, I'm never sure if it's like if that was like the aim or whether it was just like, this is the character I'm playing. Wouldn't it be funny if this rehearsal turned out to be actually for me,
right?
And that was the punchline. And that's why he's so wonderful, because there's just not, you never know whether it's the character or the real Nathan or what,
Well, I can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, man. Any Nathan Fielder is up my street. I'm down for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we're ready.
Yeah.
For the main event here, Bubba Ho-tep from 2002. The King versus the King of the Dead, as Letterboxd puts it.
Yeah.
or the tagline, I guess. The summary on Letterboxd is Bubba Ho-tep tells the true story of what really did become of Elvis Presley. We find Elvis as an elderly resident in an East Texas rest home who switched identities with an Elvis impersonator years before his quote-unquote death. Then missed the chance to switch back. He must team up with JFK and fight an ancient Egyptian mummy for the souls of their fellow residents. So, I know you had seen this movie before, right? Mm-hmm. When, where, why, how?
Yeah. So it was while I was at university. I was doing my master's, and a friend of mine who was in the same class. I can't remember which class it was. I've been trying to think for this week, trying to figure out which class it was. I think it might have been adaptation, maybe. But we had to choose a film that wasn't part of our syllabus and kind of talk about it. I can't remember exactly what the context was, but he chose Bubba Ho-tep, and he happened to have like a spare DVD. So he was like, "You need to watch this movie. It's really good." So he gave me the DVD, and I watched it when I was 20, I think. Yeah. Obviously knew Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead. Been an Evil Dead fan for a while. And yeah, I couldn't remember a lot of it when I got to it, apart from Black JFK and the wheelchair at the end. They were the two things that I was like, I remember those, But the rest was kind of a retake. I was like, I can't remember any of this. And you said that you discovered it working at a cinema in East Texas. Is that right?
Yeah, and so Joe Lansdale, the guy that wrote the short story, lives in Nacogdoches. And so I had seen him around town a lot before I even knew who he was. Basically, there was only one movie theater in Nacogdoches. I worked there from age 18 to 23. And yeah, there's only one movie theater in town. So anybody that wants to see a movie either has to come to that movie theater or drive 30 to 45 minutes out of town. So everybody came to that movie theater, right? So, I would work all over the theater, obviously, but one of the places was I would tear tickets, so literally you see every single person, you're tearing every single person's ticket in town. And so Joe Lansdale came in a lot. And then at one point, my manager, same manager who introduced me to Kevin Smith films and stuff, he was like, "Oh, I just realized that was Joe Lansdale." And I was like, "Who is Joe Lansdale?" And he's like, "Oh, he's a writer, famous writer that lives in town, and he wrote Bubba Ho-tep, which is a Bruce Campbell movie, yada yada." And then told me that apparently the premiere was there at the theater that I worked at.
Oh wow!
Of Bubba Ho-tep. So. This is also the same theater that I based a screenplay that I wrote on. Yeah. Which you know about. I won't say too much here on the show, but I don't know. It's just a weird. It's just one of those weird
part
things.
Of the fabric of your life, kind of thing.
Yeah. Because I have I love that place. I loved working at that theater. It gave me a lot of love for movies and. I was already a filmmaker at that point, but just the whole cinema experience and getting to be a part of sharing that cinema experience with hundreds of people every day. Yeah. So, obviously this movie has been on my list for a long time. Wanted to check it out. I love the Evil Dead movies. I love Bruce Campbell. I've always wanted to see more Bruce Campbell because I feel like he's such a good actor, but he just is stuck in this
B movie.
Yeah. Which is great. I'm sure he doesn't regret any part of his career. He's had an awesome career, but I feel like he's got the acting chops to be in bigger or just to sit at the table with like other like A-list actors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's almost surprising that he hasn't actually been like a villain in one of the Sam Raimi movies. And I guess they kind of were talking about doing it for Spider-Man 4 back when he was going to do that. But
yeah,
it was great to see him in this because I feel like this shows off a lot of his acting chops.
Yeah.
Because he is so good as Elvis. Like he just absolutely kills this role.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, at least 50%, if not, more of the director's job was done when he cast Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, I mean, it's just, like, the best parts of this movie are just, Bruce Campbell and Ossie Davis just, like, talking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I agree. Yeah, they definitely are.
I did watch an interview with Bruce Campbell talking about the experience of making this movie and stuff, and Bruce like gives a lot of credit to the director Don Coscarelli, because he's like he basically is like, yeah, I mean, people love like my performance and stuff in this movie, but like he's like, you got to realize that the director is the one that's like picking the shots and like, deciding all the takes to use and all this stuff. So like he's, deserves a lot of credit for it. And I don't think I've ever seen anything else that he's done. Like he did like the
Phantasms, right?
Yeah, the Phantasm movies, which
yeah,
I guess were same time around as Evil Dead.
Yeah, they're the kind of same. I don't want to say lower budget because Evil Dead kind of did get up there, but be horrors that turn into franchises.
Right. Yeah.
So it's the same vein, I guess, as what he was doing with Raimi.
Yeah, become like cult classics and stuff. It is kind of crazy to me that you have seen this film before because it feels like such a. I mean, yeah, it's like a cult classic, but it's like such a niche.
I know.
Cult classic,
I must admit that it wasn't a film that I would have picked off the shelf for myself if someone hadn't have kind of like given me the disc and said, "Hey, you need to watch this because I'm writing something about it."
Yeah, for sure.
And I like I said, I couldn't remember much about it, and it had been over 10 years since I'd seen it, so.
Yeah.
There was a lot in there that still surprised.
Yeah. So what did you feel this time around rewatching it? Like what did you love? What did you hate? What did you
Like you said, I think Bruce Campbell was really good. And I think that the fact that he was supposed to be an Elvis impersonator that had like gone into a coma and come out added to his performance because it was the most Elvis,
Yeah.
Which after seeing Elvis, I've said Elvis a lot. After seeing Elvis and the fact that they kind of seem to, even though it's a Baz Luhrmann film, they scale him back a bit, and he's not as Elvis. I'm describing this really badly. It was a bit of a like shock to go in and see it as, I don't know, Vegas vicar as this. But I think that, like you said, him and Ossie Davis, when they are together, that's when the film pops. That I think it took a while for me to kind of sink into it, I guess. Because, the film starts and there's about 15 minutes of him talking about his penis.
Which is funny stuff. Like, it's good. Like, it's good, like, Bruce Campbell just stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And it has a good chuckle here or there, but it's not the funniest parts of the movie yet.
No, 100%. And I was a bit like, oh no, I hope it's not just going to be, penis jokes and like bathroom humor for old people,
Yeah.
But then when he gets one-on-one with Ossie Davis, it's just that they are, delusional people playing these larger than life characters.
Yeah.
And for anyone that doesn't know, Ossie Davis plays JFK, and he is obsessed with kind of like working out his assassination, and that, well, he wasn't assassinated; his brain was put into a black man's body.
Yeah.
So that's why JFK is black in this film.
He says, I think that they dyed him black or something like that. Yeah, which is bizarre. I just love his whole bedroom with the pictures of Oswald on the wall and the like diorama of the of the book depository that he's got on his desk. That was really funny. And in the end, it doesn't really... I mean, Bubba Ho-tep, is the titular character, but he's not really that menacing. It's more about having those two characters on screen to like act against each other. Yeah. Because he kind of kills one old lady and then he's just in like a storage cupboard for most of the film. Yeah. Well, I guess he kills a couple of people, but he's not, terrifying. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those movies that like I would love to watch this with groups of people. Like, I think they did like a roadshow tour where they made like 32 prints and like showed it around and stuff. And because it was like kind of a limited access kind of event, it kind of built up this hype and following and stuff. And, it would have been awesome to like go to one of those and see audiences react to it. And I don't know, just to like, it's one of those movies that you should just dedicate your attention to it and enjoy it for what it is. Because I found myself wanting to be like, pull up my phone and stuff at certain parts, and then like the dialogue would just pop off and be so ridiculous and hilarious that, it just like keeps your attention. So not only is it like Ossie Davis and Bruce Campbell, but it's like the writing, like the stuff that they're saying. Yeah. Is hilarious. It's hilarious and interesting, but then it also gets kind of like heartfelt. Yeah. Because there's like a scene at the end where they're talking about their kids, and the JFK character is like, we weren't there for our kids when they needed us, were we? And and then there's a lot of like, even though it's like this kind of like B level like humor, there's a lot of things about kind of growing old and stuff like that kind of I don't know, just make it a little above your average B horror kind of movie. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that when you think of people in retirement homes, I mean, the whole, like, his roommate dies early on in the film, Elvis's, and his daughter comes to collect his things, and she's like never visited him and is thrown away like his Purple Heart and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think it's just to reinforce the fact that these people are kind of forgotten about. So of course they like, being Elvis is like, hey, I'm still relevant, like I'm still here, Yeah. People know who I am still. And I think it definitely does have that twinge of sadness throughout the whole thing of just, this is kind of the end. Yeah. That death doesn't really scare them too much. They want to take Bubba Ho-tep down. Yeah. Yeah, the plot, I mean, obviously the plot is like they're trying to take Bubba Ho-tep down, but like all of the Egyptian stuff, like the details of it are so fuzzy for me. Yeah. Like I'm still like, I'm not really sure like how the sense of each scene progressing to each scene, but it doesn't really you don't really need to understand the details. You kind of just trust that it makes some kind of sense. Yeah. But I mean, like I said, the story, I mean, he's not threatening. The story doesn't really matter. It is just about the performances from Bruce Campbell and Ossie Davis. Yeah, because there's like the scene where they go into the bathroom and and Ossie Davis is showing Bruce Campbell like the Egyptian lettering on the wall, and you like think that it's gonna have something to do with the plot or something because they find this Egyptian lettering, and he's like, I decoded it, and it says Cleopatra does the nasty, and like whatever else. There was like one other thing, and Elvis is just like, what? You know, like, and just like stuff like that it just kind of catches you off guard sometimes. It's like, oh yeah, we're in this kind of like silly ass movie. But it just worked. Like it works so well because of those two guys.
I think so too. I think the script has got a tendency, to boil things down. Like there's no real nuance, I don't think, with much of the words. Like there's the way that the Bubba Ho-tep kind of takes people's souls is to take them out of an orifice, either the one on the face or the one on the behind. And like all the way through, it's not like that's not funny enough. They've got to go and like explain exactly what it is and what's happening. But I mean, it works because the actors give 100%.
Yeah, for sure. My only like criticism, I think, is that it wasn't filmed in East Texas. Which it still works, it's like me being from East Texas and like having lived in Nacogdoches for part of the time. Like, it would have been great to actually see that. But yeah, like I said, it still works. And that, I mean, they worked with such a low budget. It's like, it's not like he could take, because most of the people that the director had working on this film had all worked with him before, and he's a California-based director. It's not like he could just afford to. I mean, it was like $500,000 that they made this movie for, which is nothing, for a movie, especially with real stars in it. So it's like I get, I can give him some leniency there, but like I said, it would have been cool to actually be in that area and stuff. But they did a pretty good job, I think, of making it feel somewhat like East Texas and stuff. And they go to Nacogdoches at one point, and when Elvis is like switching places with Sebastian Haff, which is also a great scene because he's going to switch places with this Elvis impersonator, and then it's just Bruce Campbell again. Playing the impersonator,
but a bit less Elvis.
Yeah, exactly. And so he has this great scene with himself, and he's like kissing his ring when he comes in and stuff, which is great. And I loved that whole sequence of him like arriving in Nacogdoches, and then the scene with himself, and then you get to see like when he accidentally burns up his contract in this trailer park, which I guess might still be Nacogdoches. I don't know. Could be. Yeah. And he's like barbecuing, and then it blows up the whole thing. And like Bruce Campbell's performance in that moment was just, it was just great. It was he's just like, oh my God, did you see that thing? It just went up like that. And it's just like, so I don't know. It's like, I don't know how to explain it other than like, it's not over the top, but it's just like right on point.
Yeah, I think I think that Bruce Campbell is best when he's dialed up to 11. I mean, you look at the Evil Dead films and like number one is fine. Yeah, I mean, it's great, but Ash in the first one is just regular Ash. It's not until he starts attaching chainsaws to his arms and saying groovy that he becomes Ash, the Ash that we love. And on this, it's like up to 12. It's turned up another notch, but that's where he excels. That's the area in which Bruce Campbell is, gold on the screen. So my biggest criticism for it is it's just I didn't think that it was funny enough. I thought there was so many missed opportunities. That there was bits that really worked. like especially as we've said between the two mains, but the parts in between it, like the bits about him getting an erection and stuff like that, I felt like I had to sit through to get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
And when you've got these two people that everybody instantly knows, I feel like there was so much more that could have been done, or so many more jokes that could have been written.
Yeah.
Which was a shame.
Well, it's definitely like a midnight movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely like one of those things that you put on like.
And this is exactly. This is like personal taste. Is like dick jokes don't really do it for me too much. It's just.
I like ass jokes,
especially when they're solving the crimes.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying. Like, I feel like the funniest stuff for me though was like just Bruce Campbell's performance. Like when he's like talking about when he's like describing the bug to the like doctor or whatever. He's like, the bug was the size of my fist. He's like kind of mumbling and just like you don't know what's gonna come out of his mouth, and then what comes out is just like hilarious. He's like, it's like the size of a peanut butter banana sandwich. Like, like what? Like there was just so many little like lines like that that would catch me off guard because it was just out of left field and just like hilarious. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from. Like, and everybody else in the movie was good too. Like, obviously they didn't have a ton of scenes, but Ella Joyce, the nurse, was definitely a standout. Like, she was really funny.
She was really funny, and I like that scene of her alone outside having a cigarette and kind of, that was genuinely like the scariest bit of the film. Where she was kind of edging towards the shed and not sure what was going on in there and stuff. So, but she was really, really good. I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so I don't. That's like most of what I have for the film, like for the episode. I'm trying to think what else there is. I did have a question if you knew what the deal was with like the old lady. It was like towards the beginning, and she's like in some kind of machine, and the old lady like goes in there and takes the chocolates or something.
Is that? I might be getting it completely wrong, but is that an iron lung? Because I know that especially like children and stuff like used to be in it in the olden days. So I don't know whether it's just a quote, like just time kind of. Like, we're a bit. I don't know, like. This hasn't been updated very much, but I assume it's some kind of like assisted breathing device.
I guess like it almost seemed kind of sci-fi, and I thought it was going to be something, or maybe like it was going to be another famous person or something like that.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure. I'm sure somebody out there knows. If you know, tweet us.
Yeah, it did look like some kind of iron lung type device. I don't know if the device was called an iron lung, but
yeah.
I wonder if the Phantasm films try and mix the comedy and the horror in the same way, or whether this was.
I would assume so.
Yeah, if this was a bit of a departure, in terms of okay, we've got the horror elements that people know me for, but I really want to direct some comedy.
Yeah. I mean, it's this. I mean, Sam Raimi is the king of that. Like, there's nobody who's done like the comedy horror better, I don't think, than Sam Raimi. But
and that's the thing. When you see a comedy horror with Bruce Campbell, you can't distance yourself away from Evil Dead 2, and Evil Dead 3. It's really hard to be like, okay, they don't exist.
Yeah.
Let's watch this film on its own merits.
Yeah. Which I guess Sam Raimi also gets credit for getting Bruce Campbell in this film because, according to Bruce Campbell in his like YouTube interview, I mean it's probably on the DVD too. I just watched it on YouTube, but he said that the director Don Coscarelli, I keep thinking I'm going to accidentally pronounce his name wrong. Coscarelli, he was talking to Sam Raimi about the script and stuff, and who to cast, and Sam was just like, Bruce will do it. But I think originally they were going to get someone a little bit older.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this was 2002, and at the time, at the time, Bruce was obviously younger.
Yeah.
And, but you can't tell in the movie, like, he looks and plays like an old Elvis. Like,
he does.
He seems very old. And at the time this was made, Elvis would have been 67.
Wow.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to think about, because it's like, especially when, like, internationally known public figures die early at a young age, you forget, like, they just, you forget that how old they would be now.
Yeah.
That's why it was crazy to talk about Jean-Luc Godard, like, at the beginning of the episode, that, like, he was still alive all the way into 2022. It's like, it's just wild, and Elvis would have been, could possibly still be alive today.
Yeah.
Age-wise. So, yeah, it's just mind-blowing to think about shit like that.
I know. Yeah, it's very, I don't know, it's just, yeah, they seem immortalized forever. Like you said, you forget that everybody ages, and that they would, Elvis would have more than likely looked a lot worse than Bruce Campbell in this film. The way he was going.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, anything else about this film?
I think that what it sets out to do, it accomplishes. I think that, I've sounded like a little negative on it, and I think that, it's not supposed to be the best horror comedy ever written or ever filmed,
Mm-hmm.
And once you kind of, I don't know, the performances are good enough to pull it up. It's an interesting film to watch, and it's a story that's never going to be, imitated or copied. Or it's very unique and interesting. So
yeah. I like it. It is crazy that this thing got made.
Yeah,
like, especially at such a low budget. I mean, I think it definitely would have benefited from a bigger budget. Not much bigger, because, like, once you get too big, then it just gets worse.
Yeah,
it's a lot of times, especially with, like, horror comedies. You could, there's kind of like a perfect budget level, I think, sometimes with these things, but like, just the fact that the director had enough passion to find the finance. He, like, found private financing, was able to get Bruce Campbell on board and Ossie Davis, and, create something that is, like, so many people love, like, this is a true, like, cult classic film.
It is.
Like, this is something I will definitely watch more than once. I'm like, this is something that I would put on, especially now that, like, Elvis is out. Like, this is one of those things that I might even go back to it very soon, like, when hanging out with family or friends, because Elvis is so fresh on people's mind right now, to be like, all right, we'll watch this.
Yeah. Here's what happened after Elvis ended.
Yeah, exactly. Here's what happens next. Here's the sequel. Yeah, and I mean, they've been talking about making a sequel to this film for years, and it might still be happening. I mean, it's showing on IMDb that it's still happening, and I don't think Bruce Campbell is going to be Elvis, but I'm not sure who is actually, but I guess they're going to do Bubba Nosferatu, which they joke at the end.
Yeah.
At the end of the credits. They put it in there as a joke. Like it just says like he will return in Bubba Nosferatu and the she vampires or something like that. And yeah, he put it in there as a joke, but then
people want it.
People want it.
Yeah.
You know. So maybe we'll get it.
Maybe.
Who knows?
You know, just get Marvel interested and they'll make a full 28 film release around it. So
yeah, exactly. And then they could actually use Bruce Campbell because they could de-age him.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
the leaders and all of that. I mean, they made a whole movie with Samuel L. Jackson 30 years younger.
They sure did. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Anyways, I can't wait to see what else Bruce Campbell is doing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna watch more of his films. And
have you read his book?
I feel like there's some. I haven't read his book, and I feel like there's something out there. Like this feels like one of them, like finding that gem of a performance. But I feel like he's got more, and I want to find it. You know what I mean? But no, I haven't read his book, and he also has a movie called My Name Is Bruce where he plays himself. Yeah, he's playing.
He directed
himself,
it too. I've just pulled it up. Wow.
Yeah. So I gotta find that and watch it.
Yeah.
But and I haven't finished the series either, the Evil Dead show, which they made 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
it's got pretty. I mean, My Name Is Bruce has got pretty good, reviews, I guess, from Letterboxd and stuff. So yeah, you'll have to find out.
I mean, I would imagine, you're talking about the god of the horror comedy.
Yeah.
Like
people
being in, not only being in, the Evil Dead movies, which alone is like enough street cred.
Yeah.
But he's been in so many other of these like horror comedy B movies. Like it only makes sense for him to be like, well, here's mine. Like here, let me direct one. Like being able to take all the best pieces from each director and do something. So I'm definitely gonna check that out. But yeah, I think that might be it.
Yeah, I think so.
Today.
Yeah, we put Bubba Ho-tep to rest. And we are driving off in our little electronic wheelchairs.
That's right. So it's time. It's that part of the show where we guess what we rated the film. So this is something me and Lewis have started doing where we try to get we always like rate movies on Letterboxd. Yeah, so we try to guess each other's. I'm gonna say that you rated this film 3.
I'm gonna say that you rated this film 4.
All right. And the winner is...
You were half a star away.
Was it 3.5?
It was 2.5.
Oh, really? Damn.
Yeah. I could tell you were nearly going for 2.
No, I was nearly going for 3.5. I thought it was a little higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 4 for me.
Sweet.
Congratulations, you win.
Yeah. What do I win?
You get to pick the film next week.
Hey, there we go. That's what I want. Now, 2.5 sounds very, very harsh, but I do have a very particular rating system. So, yeah, it just falls into that category, it doesn't mean that it's bad.
Yeah.
So
it's not Lewis, it's the rating system. Sorry.
Yeah, don't blame me. It's the rating system that I came up with. So
do you think so you've seen this film twice now?
I think I've seen it 3 times.
Really?
I think I must have. Yeah, I think I watched it and then probably watched it again after I read my friend's work.
Okay.
So
do you think there'll be a 4th?
I mean, probably down the line.
Yeah.
As my voice breaks.
That's always what I wonder when you rate films low. Is like, are
Yeah.
you gonna go back?
But I mean,
back to the well.
yeah, I'm sure I will. You know, it's higher rated than Breathless.
Wow.
Yeah.
He hates Breathless.
I do. Yeah, just give me breath.
Breath More was better.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Oh man. Well, I mean, hopefully that gives every listener something to love when they listen to this show, because usually either you love a movie or you hate it. So
Yeah.
you can pick a side.
Yeah, you can follow us on Letterboxd and shout insults at us as we rate your favorite films.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So that's fine. So what are we watching next week, Lewis? I need to know.
Yeah, of course. So I know that we're probably going to talk about this a little bit more next week, but we have a very exciting few months coming up. And we're going to try and mix it up a little bit, do something different. And I thought that before we do that, it'd be a great palate cleanser to have one of my favorite films that I don't think you've seen. It's
Okay.
one of my feel-good films. I love to put this on, but I want you to watch it too. It is On the Town from 1949.
Okay.
Gene Kelly, Frank Sinatra. Just a blast of a musical. And I know that we mentioned musicals earlier about going in and out of style.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know that we've even done a musical for Film Church yet.
No, I was trying to think, I was looking through the streaming services that we have to try and find something, A, that was free, and B, that either I wanted to see or I wanted you to see. And I just kept coming back to On the Town. So
yeah. I might have seen this before.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if this is what I'm thinking of. It might not be.
Yeah, there's a few Gene Kelly, Frank Sinatra musicals and around the same time.
I think I have seen this. I think I saw it when I worked at Studio Movie Grill.
Oh, really?
Theater I worked at, yeah.
Do you want me to pick another one? Do you want me to do it again?
No. No.
Okay.
No. I wanna rewatch it because I don't think I was too thrilled by it. If it is the same movie.
Yeah.
So I want to know why I should love this movie.
Yes. I will tell you.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean that'll be next week. So
yeah, and then exciting stuff after that.
Yeah, so be sure to tune in next week because we'll announce that what's happening. So that brings us to the end of the show. You can follow us on everything, and please do. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on TikTok now, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube. We post extra content on YouTube, and by extra content, I mean like other reviews and stuff that isn't even on the podcast episode. So go check it out. You can find us, of course, all of that stuff is at Film Church Radio. You can also find us individually on Letterboxd at Selman Scope and at Walker Lewis 3007 to keep up with what we've been watching. Because every time we immediately after we watch something, we'll post it on Letterboxd, and you can see what we rated it and what we think. So follow us there and see what's on our watch list, and give us suggestions of things to watch for Film Church. And yeah, please come back. We want to see people come back to the congregation, so we know that you like us. We need validation. No, not really, but
that we're preaching to someone. That someone hears.
Yes. But I just got one last question, Lewis.
Oh, yeah?
Marilyn. Come on, man. Marilyn Monroe. What was she like in the sack?
That is classified information. Top secret. But between you and me, wow.
You old dog. Watch your back, Jack.
Amen.
Amen. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.